Hi, Simon. This is Michael from bettertoeflscores.com, and you completed a TOEFL speaking practice test, and this is my free TOEFL speaking evaluation service. So I will give you feedback one time for free. If you like my feedback, if you think it's going to help you, you can go back to bettertoeflscores.com and you can subscribe to my TOEFL speaking and writing feedback service. Okay, so here I have the independent speaking rubric, so I can give you a grade based on that. It's more accurate when I have the rubrics here. I actually have the email and the recording that you sent me. So I think the question is, do you think group work or individual study is more effective? And you think that group work is good. And that's kind of what you chose. So it's a personal experience, TOEFL independent speaking task, number one. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to your response. And then afterwards, I put together some notes to go over with you, and I can give you a score based on those notes.
Only
Okay, here
agree
we
with the
go.
idea that group work can support students' learning ability. I have two main reasons for this. First of all, group work can foster a sense of community. This
Okay.
means if students interact with other students, they can learn and get various opinions and ideas, as well as they can share different knowledges. Therefore, they can grow and they will become more knowledgeable in several topics or subjects. Secondly, group work can also help students to learn socialization skill. For example, there should be a consistent communication or consistent chat or discussion being involved. So they're gonna learn so much better when it comes to speaking skills or verbal expressions where they have to work towards as a group to avoid certain misunderstandings or to solve a certain problem. Therefore, group work not only expands students to have a broader knowledge, but it also supports their learning ability in terms of when it comes to their fostering of sense of community, and group work can actually be very helpful in getting those life skills like decision making or problem solving skills. These are the two reasons why I think that group work can actually help students to learn better.
Thank you for completing the practice test. Notice how you're 1 minute and 24 seconds here. So your goal is to complete this task in 45 seconds or less. So as you were speaking, I kind of looked at the rubrics here. I was thinking 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't think you're in the 2 range. I don't think you're in the 4 range. I think that the 3 area here describes your speaking level right now. So you're probably, my estimate will be 23 to 24 points out of 30 according to the rubric. So when I look at the 3, I'm looking at minor difficulties with pronunciation, tone, or pacing, especially pacing. You want to be careful about that. Sometimes you have some unnatural pauses in what I call in the middle of thought groups. So you have to be careful about that. When I look under language use, I see some imprecise or inaccurate use of vocabulary, grammar structures, or be limited in the range of structures used. So I think this is an area that kind of describes your speaking abilities right now with the TOEFL. And then with the topic development, we have the overall development is somewhat limited. This is what stands out to me. Usually lacks elaboration or specificity. Relationship between ideas may not at times be clear. I think it's pretty clear what you're doing and how you're organizing your ideas, but you need to elaborate or be more specific by using personal examples from your own experience or from the experience of someone that you know personally. I think either way, that would help you in that area. Okay, so let's take a look at my notes. Okay, let's see what we got. So I'm going to say 23 out of 30, 3.0 out of 4. The general feedback is your response addresses a task appropriately and demonstrates some strong features, including clear organization and use of transitional expressions like therefore to show a relationship between ideas. However, you didn't get 30, right? So there are some things that you can do to raise your score to the next level. So I will also email you this written feedback so you can have it. So let's break it down in terms of delivery, language use, and then topic development. These are the three areas that the TOEFL uses to grade your speaking. Your speech is mostly clear, but there are some issues with pacing, particularly pausing in the middle of thought groups. For example, pausing after group work can foster, you need to have an object after that, but you might pause there, and that's going to disrupt the rhythm of your speech. So let me see if I can give you an example of what that might sound like. Listen to the beginning of your
I only agree
response.
with the idea that group work can support students
It's group work, pause, can support. So you have that pause right after the subject and before the verb. That's not good.
learning ability. I have two main reasons for this. First of all, group work can foster a sense of community. This means if students interact with other students, they can learn and get various opinions and ideas, as well as they can share different knowledges.
They can share different knowledges. Again, you're kind of separating that verb from the object there with a short pause. So be careful about that. That's what I call problems with pacing. So strategy is practice reading your response aloud and group words into natural thought units, or what I call thought groups. So if you looked at this sentence here, I would pause right before the dependent clause. I might read it like this: group work can foster a sense of community in that students interact and support one another. Something like that. Also, watch your informal pronunciation, especially I think that you said gonna instead of saying going to. So while it's commonly used in conversation, the TOEFL expects a more academic tone. Languages, grammar, vocabulary. So uh, consider combining short, choppy sentences to show more syntactic variety. For instance, I don't think that's what you said, but let me check my notes or let's listen to it. I think in the very beginning you can combine those first two
I only
sentences.
agree with the idea that group work can support students' learning ability.
So group work can support students' learning abilities.
I have two main reasons.
You might say in that instead of saying I have two main reasons, maybe say in that or because, and then you can state those reasons. So you can create what we call a complex sentence instead of two separate simple sentences, and that shows a little bit better syntactic variety. But disregard that comment there. But I think this shows you kind of what it looks like to use more advanced grammar, especially in the very beginning of the response. This is your introduction, right? This is the first words coming out of your mouth, and you have the speech rater, ETS's artificial intelligence scoring engine. You also have the IBT human raters. And this is what you want them to hear, something like this. I agree that group work is effective because it fosters collaboration and enhances learning through peer interaction. So if you state it like that, you're using basically you have your independent clause here, and then you have the dependent clause right there. Now, also with language use, be careful about knowledges. Knowledges is an uncount noun. We typically don't make it plural. So it's incorrect to say knowledges. You should say knowledge. And this is another example of showing where you have the two sentences there. So group work can foster a sense of community in that students are encouraged to help and motivate one another. So what it means is use more of these subordinating conjunctions to create these complex sentences so that you have better syntactic variety and a smoother delivery, believe it or not. Okay, also be careful about in that word, no, actually, in which versus where. So you have, I think in the response you said where verbal expressions where students learn, but I would change that to verbal expressions in which students learn. So when you have abstract ideas, it's better to say in which. If you have a specific location, say I went to Oro Valley where I spent time with my relatives or something. Uh, okay, 3, topic development. So let's take a look at this. The biggest problem that I'm seeing here is you actually spoke for 1 minute and 24 seconds. So you're not managing your time very well. So you need to get that down to 45 seconds. Or they're just not going to hear anything that you said after 45 seconds. It's not going to look like it's developed very well. So you attempted to cover 2 reasons but lacked specific concrete details. Instead of general statements, use one strong reason supported by one personal example. I think that would be better, and you can really solve 2 problems here. You're having a problem managing your time, so by having one reason and one example, you can easily get that to 45 seconds. Now, number 2, you tend to use kind of esoteric, vague, uh, unclear type reasoning. If you're more concrete, I think it'll be more specific. It'll help support your argument better. So let's look at the difference between abstract versus concrete examples. You're a little bit abstract in the examples that you're providing. So abstract would be group work improves learning, and then you just talk about it in a very general sense. But concrete would be, last semester in my biology class, my group divided tasks for a presentation on genetics. I researched DNA mutations and my partner handled the visuals. By working together, we each learned more than we would have learned alone. So you could use this maybe as a topic sentence, right? But then make sure below that you say something like this. So you're much more concrete in the examples that you're providing. Now, here is a revised 45-second sample response, kind of taking your idea. I believe group work is effective because it encourages students to share knowledge. For example, in my high school chemistry class, I was in a study group where each member taught a specific concept to the others. I'm going to change this to in which. I think that would be a better choice, in which each member taught a specific concept to the others. I focused on chemical bonding, while another student explained balancing equations. This method not only helped us understand the material better, but also built our confidence. Explaining concepts aloud made the lessons clearer and more memorable. Therefore, group work fosters both academic improvement and peer support. So that shows you how you can, Simon, you can make the assertion in the beginning of your response, and then you use the concrete example below to support that assertion. So this is going to help you with your topic development. So suggestions to improve your score. Let's take a look at some ideas here. Number 1, I think at this point, because you're having trouble getting within the 45 seconds, limit your response to one reason with a detailed personal example to stay within the time limit. Record and time yourself when practicing. Aim for 40 to 45 seconds max. 3, group ideas into thought units to avoid unnatural pauses mid-sentence. Yeah, be really careful about that. That's one of the things in the delivery that I think would cause you to not get 26, by the way. Number 4, eliminate informal expressions and focus on academic pronunciation and vocabulary. Number 5, vary your sentence structure. Combine simple sentences for better syntactic range. 6, use transitions like, for example, as a result and in particular to guide your listener. And you did do some of that. So out of these 6 suggestions, the things that you want to be the most careful about would be, I think, number 1, number 3, and number 5. I think 1, 3, and 5 are things that are really affecting your score that I gave you right now. So keep that in mind. Keep practicing with this feedback in mind. You'll be on your way to scoring in the 26 to 26 range very soon. So if you want, if it fits your budget, I really think that I can help you with your TOEFL speaking and TOEFL writing. So if you subscribe to my feedback service, it's not very expensive. You can find out about it by going back to Better TOEFL Scores. You can begin submitting practice tests daily. You can maybe send me a writing practice test one day. I'll give you feedback on that. then send me a speaking practice test the next day. Again, I'll provide you feedback on that. And thank you for completing the practice test.